Hello, and welcome to our special topic. Today, we're going to dive into an article that holds the world's attention: the meeting between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. This isn't just about politics. It's a story of different styles, past events, and future possibilities. Listening to this story will help you understand complex ideas and improve your English vocabulary. So, let's begin this fascinating journey. The high-stakes summit in Alaska. The air in Anchorage, Alaska, on August 15, 2025, felt colder than usual, not just because of the northern location, but because of the incredible tension hanging over the city. The world watched with bated breath. In a secure military base, two of the most powerful and talked-about leaders in the world were meeting face-to-face: U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. This was not a normal meeting. This was a high-stakes summit, a diplomatic gamble with the fate of nations on the line. The main reason for their gathering was to find a path to end the terrible war in Ukraine. For years, this conflict had caused immense suffering, and President Trump had made it his personal mission to bring the fighting to a swift conclusion. He believed his unique style and skills as a negotiator could achieve what traditional diplomacy could not. He wanted to be a peacemaker, to bring the war to an end, and prove to the world that he could solve one of its most difficult problems. To fully understand this moment, we must look back at a history of similar meetings. The relationship between American and Russian leaders has always been a complex dance. Think back to the years of the Cold War, when meetings between a U.S. president and a Soviet leader were historic events, filled with tension and careful words. In the early 2000s, U.S. President George W. Bush and Vladimir Putin had several meetings that were described as friendly, with hopes of a new era of cooperation. They even signed a significant treaty to reduce nuclear arms, showing that even with disagreements, progress was possible. However, the positive atmosphere did not last. As Russia's actions in Crimea and other regions increased tensions, the relationship grew colder. A particularly memorable meeting for many was the one in Helsinki in 2018 between Trump and Putin. That meeting was very different from any before it. The atmosphere was one of unusual warmth and closeness, with Trump publicly praising Putin and questioning the findings of his own intelligence agencies. The world was shocked. It seemed to show that the personal connection between these two men was more important than their nation's official policies. This history made the Alaska summit even more unpredictable and fascinating. The day of the meeting in Anchorage was a mixture of grand ceremony and private, intense talks. President Trump's plane, Air Force One, landed first, followed by President Putin's. They were seen shaking hands on the tarmac, a simple gesture that was immediately analyzed by media around the globe. This was a visual moment of immense importance, a sign that the two leaders were willing to talk. The meeting itself was held in a secure military base, a place of great significance. Alaska, a U.S. state that was once a Russian colony, was chosen for its symbolic meaning. It is the closest U.S. point to Russia, a geographical bridge. It also offered a safe and neutral ground for President Putin, as the United States is not a part of the International Criminal Court, which had issued an arrest warrant for him. The talks lasted for several hours, but when the two leaders finally emerged to address the media,
The news was not what many had hoped for. There was no grand announcement, no signed peace treaty, and no immediate ceasefire. Both leaders spoke briefly, with President Putin speaking first, a move that was seen by some as a subtle sign of his power. They both described the meeting as productive and positive, but they offered no concrete details. They did not take any questions from the many journalists who were there, leaving the world to wonder what had truly been discussed behind closed doors.
The fact that the meeting ended without a deal was a disappointment to many. For the people of Ukraine who have suffered so much, it meant that the fighting would continue. For Ukraine's President Zelensky, the meeting was a source of great concern. He and his European allies had warned against any deal being made without Ukraine's direct participation. They feared that Trump and Putin would agree to a deal that would force Ukraine to give up some of its land in exchange for peace, a compromise that many Ukrainians and their supporters would not accept. The summit highlights a deep moral debate. Is it right to give up land for peace? Is it acceptable to make a deal with an aggressor? These questions are at the heart of the conflict. The meeting in Alaska shows that the future of the war and the fate of Ukraine are not decided on the battlefield alone. They also depend on the difficult and often secret conversations between world leaders. The story of this summit is a reminder that the relationships between powerful people can change the course of history, for better or for worse. It is a story with a chapter written, but with the ending still unknown. The world will continue to watch, hoping that the next meeting will bring a better outcome for all. This story shows us how historical context, personal relationships, and global politics are all connected. By listening to this story, you are not only learning about an important recent event, but also practicing your English. The detailed descriptions and conversational tone are designed to help you build your vocabulary and improve your comprehension. Listen to it again and again, and you'll find yourself understanding more with each replay. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe for more educational documentaries just like this one.